Wow. Really? Can I take a selfie? I got to show my mom this. This is amazing. All right, it's official. Thank you. Sincerely. Wow, you guys got over-delivered to today, didn't you? Like, man, you guys got a lot of value. I was standing backstage and I was talking to a gentleman, and we had just talked to, just kind of that chit-chat, getting to know somebody, and he's in construction, and I grew up in that world. As a boy, my dad used to be a cabinet maker, and so he was a true craftsman. And I've spent the last 72 hours, and I'm not joking, creating this thing. And you say, well, if you've been doing it for 35 years, you should know it, right? I do know it. But typically, if I were to sponsor somebody, I'm going to take them through a series of things, and it's going to be unpacked over time, right? I know where I'm taking them. There's no doubt in my mind. But how do I, in 90 minutes, tell you that? So, fortunately, Ariana said that she's recording, and that you'll take this back if you don't get it all at once and unpack it. Okay, because there's a lot of suitcases in here that you may think that that's it, but when you engage in getting that into your life, you're going to hit a recoil and you're going to say, let me go back and watch that. Maybe he said a little nuance in there that would have given you the trick to get through that ridge or over that hill as you're climbing the mountain. And so I named this in particular. I know a lot about, I can't say a lot. I know a little bit about Ariana's story. And so I named the bottom piece just for her. How to build an exponentially growing residual income in network marketing without secretly feeling like a second-class business owner. All right, now if it isn't true for you, perhaps you've not had an attorney general attack your company and watch your check go from $65,000 to $16,000 in just 3 months. Maybe you've not had an attack on your person, yourself, right? So your identity out on social media or something like that. And so, like there's groups that will attack if you're a big enough opponent. All right, so I am one of those weird ducks, and I chase everything back to source. Okay, so people say the truth about the Canon camera, the truth about blah, 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 the facts, the true facts, the blah, blah. And most of them don't know how to evaluate their toenail. Like you just look at what they say and you're like, you call that research? I saw this investigative report in the UK, and the lady said, undercover journalist discovers the secret to network marketing millionaires. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to find out. And so she was attacking Unique and New Skin, and so I attacked her back. Anyway, you may have seen some other stuff that I've done. There's a guy who came out and he attacked Herbalife, and I stood up for Herbalife. There was a company or a group of people who attacked USANA. I hired some private investigators to find out what that guy was up to. Comes to find out, he was a preacher in Southern California, and he ran 2 different fraud organizations. One of them was shorting stocks and then telling the story to the media. The media then told the story. Some of the media were involved, and they would short the stock, and people would make a whole bunch of money by talking bad about network marketing. So that guy went back to jail. When Ariana said that I've been an ambassador to the industry, I've not just done a wave, right? Like, I really get in it. I go down to the source of where stuff is. And so I want to give that to you because I was introduced to this on this veterans podcast, and the guy goes, Tim, you are unapologetic about network marketing. Why? And I said, because I've evaluated every single data point on it. Do you guys know what I mean when I say data point? Every subject is made up of a series of points. All right, so we used to have to evaluate intel. And so let's say that we've got a bomb, or we want to go get a bomb, and we find out where it is. Intelligence gatherers, they call them the spooks will give us clues as to where they might be. But there's people who cross through, and they will hijack our communications, and they will give us false information, and so we show up to an ambush. And so every data point, so communication that comes in, we have to chase it back to source to make sure that the source is who that we trust. Who said it? When did they say it? Where did they say it? How can we prove that? So that's what I did with all the data points on network marketing. And so I want you to have that armor like I do. I'm not apologetic about the industry whatsoever, and you're going to find out really why. Okay? All right, let's have fun. So if you've had any difficulty ever building, I'm going to tell you right now that it's all right. Stop beating yourself up about it. There's a lot of false information about this industry that the people that you take it to make you feel scummy, or make you feel wrong, or make you feel something. It's because the media has gotten to them, or they've had an experience in a company that some of the people were unprofessional, all right? It may or may not have been your fault. If it was your fault, if you did some spamming, if you did some various different things, great, repair it, right? Make up the damage, and that's all there is to life. Make a mistake, fix it. So I'm going to help two types of people here. Number one are brand new people, okay? So you don't quite know what to focus on yet. You get a lot of training. You know, there's a priority of data. When you're evaluating a piece of data, not all pieces of data are the same. Right? Have you ever noticed that some things are more important than other things? Right? So windshield wiper broke, engine blew up, difference. Right? Some people cannot point and evaluate a higher importance in anything. Okay, so I worked hard today. I got a haircut today. You know, it's the same. Okay, so I'm going to teach you what to focus on, and then I'm going to show you how to have that presence. In fact, you'll probably walk out of here with it. Right? You'll own it. And then for the experienced people, I'm going to teach you how to be bulletproof, like put an armor coat around your team. All right? Bring them up right, if you will. Okay. So the only way for an average person, and I'm calling myself average, to build an exponentially growing residual income is through network marketing. And the only way to build network marketing is by application of the right training. All right? There's not a single thing in this world that people don't get better at with the right training. Right? It was a long road for me to figure this out, that training is the secret. It's not a secret. It's the secret. It's everything. If you want to get better at tying fishing lures, get training. If you're horrible in the kitchen, get training. If you can't clean a diaper, like a butt of the diaper that was just, you know what I'm saying, right? So there's a rule in manhood, so in the man cave we all talk about this, always mess it up. You know, like get it all over everywhere, You know, so that you're not called on to do it again. You know, that's the idea. But somebody just got it, and they're like, oh yeah. So there's, if you want to get better at anything, get training on it. That's the solution. A lot of people spend the first month of their life in network marketing, 2 years in their life saying, I'm new. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And my family, we are not allowed ever to say that. It's one of those words that we just don't say, and I never buy it as an excuse. Dad, where's my jiu-jitsu gi? Look for it. I don't say I don't know. You see what I'm saying? So I don't want that as an excuse. All right. So this is just a little bit of the past there. So I got into a network marketing company and part-time while I was in the military, and I got to $150,000 a month. Within my 5th year, I retired. And then after a couple of years, I felt kind of guilty. And so I wrote a video called Brilliant Compensation. It was downloaded about 44 million times, so that's where I got known. And this is back in the VHS days, okay? And so I taught at the University of Illinois at Chicago, a certificate course on network marketing. That's me with Larry King. I've spoken thousands and thousands and thousands of large stages. I consulted, and this is one of the most important things for you. I consulted a couple of hundred network marketing companies. And so they would bring me in to ask me to help them grow. They would bring me in for all kinds of reasons. And so I learned so much during that time frame of being behind the scenes as well as out on the front. And so that's a little bit about that. And I'm going to walk you through a couple of realizations of things that occurred here. So this is Timmy on the left. My sister's the only one allowed to call me that. I never earned a merit badge, not one. In school, I stared out the window. Every PTA meeting was the same for me on the way home. Tim always stares out the window. He never engages in class. He doesn't do anything. And my mom asked me, Tim, what do you think about when you're staring out the window? And I said, fishing. And she says, why won't you do this? Because I don't want to. And that was my answer my whole life. I was an F- student. They only passed me to get me out of there and because I could wrestle. That was it. All right? I never really engaged in anything at all. So I went into the Navy right out of high school. And then I saw some guys in really cool, I know it looks like we don't have pants on, but these little shorts right here, they're called UDT shorts. And I saw some guys off the side of a ship, and they had Ray-Ban sunglasses on, and they had these knives around their ankles, around their calves. And they were cool. Something better than fishing. I said, hey, I hopped down on the ladder, and I said, who are you guys? And they're like, we're Navy divers. And just their position and way they stood, I was like, man, I want that. And so I asked what I need to do this. And he said, well, you just need to sign up to go to dive school for the training. And so I did, but they said, we've never seen an ASVAB score so low. Okay, an ASVAB was this thing they did in high school where they said, you need to take this test. We didn't know what it was for. I didn't care. I did the same thing that I did to every test. I played tic-tac-toe down that questionnaire thing. And so they said, we've never seen a score this low. And they go, in order to get into the Navy diving program, you're going to have to take another test. And I'm like, uh-oh. So I went to night school. Imagine that. My mom was shocked. I'm surprised she lived through that day when I said I'm going to school. And so I started trying to learn math and all of that stuff. And so I ended up taking the test. The guy beside me, I was willing to bet on him instead of bet on me. I cheated off of his, and he passed. So did I. So I got accepted into this school, okay? And it was inside of here. These guys are Spec Ops, Special Operations Command. And these guys do things different. They don't sit on a stage or on a platform at a podium in a school and talk. They teach you the theory, they take you out, you have to do it. If you do it wrong, they make you do push-ups and burpees. Who enjoys that? Okay, there ain't no looking out the window stuff, right? This is burpees until you puke, and then you come back and try to do that again. And so they're there to get you through it and so that you can do it. They're not there to push you through school. They're there to make sure you can do it because you're going to be defusing bombs right beside them. And they all want to live. And so if all of us trained our reps that way, we'd all be wealthy, right? Because if you just think that mentality there. And so this is in the Persian Gulf. We defused 200 mines. We're dragging one of these mines behind us. That's on the island of Kohoalavi in Hawaii. It's a bombing range, and that's a 500-pound, that rusty thing, that's a 500-pound bomb that I'm kind of straddling like it's a horse or something. That's a mixed dive rig, and you can see those two silver bubbles on the side there. That's a mixed gas. It's a quiet. We could silently sneak into harbors and we could watch what all of our enemy were doing. And so that's what those things were for. Right? Now, how in the world do you learn mixed gas, the biology of that and all of that when you were an F- student? The right training. All right, that's when I had this realization that I wasn't dumb. I had poor teachers. Okay? There are no dumb students. There's only impatient trainers, teachers. All right, and so that's what I'd like you to do is to come down to the level of saying, wow, if training is everything, and it is, everything you know how to do, it's because you got the right training, whether it was trial and error or somebody gifted you and gave it to you. One way or another, you got trained, and that is the secret. Anybody know, can you recall some, like, epiphany you had one time in your life where you learned something and you surprised yourself that you knew it? Maybe it was the flute, maybe it was the piano, it was the guitar, maybe it was, framing a house, maybe it was building a checkerboard in shop class, or just whatever it is, remember that, because that's the thing that you anchor to as you go forward. My second realization, this is the mighty Missouri. That is the ship, one of the ships that I was on. We were just riding the ship. You normally don't have special operations on there, but they were going up into the Gulf of Oman, which is the Persian Gulf, and it was covered with these really evil rockets that shoot this way. And if one hit this ship and didn't blow up, they would call us from our bunk room, and we'd go and defuse it. But this bomb was designed to blow up. So we just basically exercised, but somewhere right about in here is that room. And in that room, they flew a professor in to do college courses. And so I took a college course on finance, personal finance. And it was in here, this old retired guy who didn't take his own advice happened to make this phrase. To make good money, you have to either own it or sell it. And he said it just over his shoulder as he walked. Church bell went off in my head. I never heard of money, right? It didn't work. That was never a conversation around my house. I knew eventually I wanted to take a wife. And I knew I was going to have to be responsible for money. The only thing that I owned was a sea bag about that big, and I had a pair of jeans in it, a ball cap, and a couple of T-shirts. That was it. That was my assets when this guy said, you need to build your assets. I'm like, more T-shirts, more hats? What does that mean? So then my realization number 3 was that ad. Okay, I want you all to read this ad. $20,000 a month. top salesperson needed. Wear sharp Italian tailor-made suits. Drive fancy European sports cars. If you have the courage to call, it can make you rich. Will train. And then the phone number. But look at this one. Self-starter with 3-year sales experience. Every one of them had some experience needed. That was the only one that said, will train. I had a realization. You mean to tell me somebody's willing to teach me how to make money? Not too smart, pretty gullible, but I kill for a living. What's he going to do? Hurt me? Right? Is he going to rip me off? I doubt it. He won't even rip anybody else off. I had that idea. You know, you guys who are ex-military, right? You have a different mindset. Civilians, you know, they never get into that mindset of the way that we're trained at that time. So that was the way I kind of approached this. And so I went to see this guy. Hour and a half drive up to his house. He showed me a skincare kit. And I said, okay, what do I do? Sell that? And he said, he goes, no, you're going to use this one. I looked at it and it was in a wrap package, $350 worth of skincare. And I look at the thing and I'm like, I don't have the body parts for this, man. Like, you kidding me? And he said, no, you've got to use it because you got to believe in the product. I said, no, I just got to sell one like you. You haven't had me try this stuff. Okay, so I'm just going to sell it. He goes, well, you got to buy one. I go, I'm out. And I just walked out. I ended up going back, and he says, because he told me a pitch. He goes, Tim, I figured out, because I came there to make money, not lose money, or to spend money. That was what I said to him. And so he called me back. He followed up. And he said, Tim, I figured out a way for you to get in for free. Come up to my house. It's an hour and a half. Again. So I drove up there. I sat down with him, and he said, okay, so if you sell 5 of these, you're going to make $50 a piece, and that's going to give you enough money to buy yours. And I just sat there looking at him. I go, do I have stupid written right here? And he goes, no. And I go, this is jacked up, man. Right? And I stood up, and he said, why is it jacked up? And I said, because you tricked me. And I said, why? I said, well, if I don't sell them, then I'm stuck with now 5 skincare kits. And he goes, oh, I didn't know we were talking about your lack of ability. And I'm standing up, and he's sitting down. I have an advantage, okay? Right? In a fight, that's an advantage. And so I looked at him, and I said, what'd you say? And he said, you lack confidence. And to this day, I tear up when he said it because he called my bluff. And he said, if you don't think you can do it, then why did you answer the ad? And I said, because you said you would train me. And he said, I will. And you failed the first test because I told you you need to use these products to believe in them. And I said, all right, I'll buy them. Okay? That's posture. That's posture. The guy, he ended up quitting when everybody ran for the hills. He ran for the hills. He ended up quitting, but to this day I honor that man because he trained me. He really did train me. Okay? So, now I'm in, and I came back to work 7 years ago, because I had an epiphany, and I'll tell you about it later. But so it's not just for me. Okay, so that was a great story, Tim. But what about me? Okay, so in 7 years, I have 57 millionaires on my team. That's residual. That's what you want. You want to train people to where you have consistent. In other words, you want people above you to make more money than you. 5,401 person average $250,000 a year. Do you know that in order to be in the top 1% of any state in the United States, the average is $380,000? And we put 5,000 out there. Do you know how rare that is? How many millionaires do you think Procter & Gamble makes? Delta Airlines, American Airlines, all the companies that are the model companies. How many millionaires do you think they create that aren't shareholders? Do you know why they don't create millionaires? Because they keep that profit. They don't give it to you. That's what network marketing does. And so when you see somebody say that most people fail, only few make money, but the number of fews are a whole lot of fews. And it's a whole lot more than any other company can say. There's 32 people who make more money than me. That's what you want. You don't want to be the king of the kingdom. I'm the first person in the company. You ever hear this stupid statement that only the people at the top make all the money? You ever hear that stupid statement? How many of you quasi-believe it? Good. 3, 4. Come on, more. Come on. 5, 6. Top of what? If I'm at the top, top of what? There was a day where I go down to the home office, you know, the merchant account doesn't work yet or anything like that, and I go down to sign up and they don't have any products, and I'm trying to sign up, so I signed up. Finally got it done. I'm at the top. Number 1 of what? I'm making all the money. There isn't any. So anytime somebody says that phrase to you, just ask them, top of what? The business they built. It wasn't timing that did that. Every single person who joins the business just like I did. You start at the top of nothing. Okay? You're at the top of whatever you build. That's the answer. And so now you know why so many journalists will not interview me. All right. So I've had 3 discoveries, and I'm going to run through these real quick with you if you don't mind. Number 1, reps secretly believe network marketing is a second-class business. And if you don't, you will, but I'm going to prevent it today. Okay? So you get hit by something, you hear something, somebody in your family accuses you of something, and it pierces. And you withdraw a little bit, and that's what I want to insulate you from. Number 2 is reps secretly believe that they can't do network marketing. Some of you have had a lot of success, and so that's not you, but the next one might be reps secretly believe they can't train a team. Okay? So that's what I'm going to go through. All right, so discovery number 1. You've been told by the media that it is second class. There have been systematic attacks every 3 years for 30 plus years. People like me plot this stuff. This is not called news. This is called a campaign. Somebody's got an agenda. I know who it is. Okay? Next one. You've been told that most people fail and few make money. You've been told that network marketing is a pyramid. You've been told that the products are expensive. You've been told a job is better. You know what I'm talking about with this one? You ever see that McDonald's thing out there that says, you know, if you're in network marketing, this is the amount of money you make, and if you're working for McDonald's, this is the amount of money you make? You ever seen that thing? Oh my gosh. They won't answer any of my calls. You've been told that recruiting is evil. You're just out there trying to bug your friends and family. It's evil. Okay, so let's jump into this. I call it the greasy, hairy, icky spider. Because it's so convoluted, and the media does an awesome job at this. But it's ubiquitous. You hear scam, pyramid scheme, predatory, lost all their money, few make money, fraud, lose money, lose friends and family, Ponzi scheme, most fail. That's what you hear out there, and it's just so common that the news will introduce us by saying in network marketing, often called pyramid selling. And I'm like, what? Where did that come in, right? So let's jump into these. Okay, so if you've ever watched this whole YouTube channel I've got called Network Marketing Power, and you watch this, I've added some things that I wasn't willing to put out there. So I'm kind of like Rob. Okay, I'm going to tell you some things that I don't normally talk about. Okay, so Andrew Carnegie, he was the guy who owned the steel companies, and you got John D. Rockefeller. In 1890s, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, 87, 1890, they established something called the Education Trust. And in the trust, they basically laid out the plan of how to dumb down Americans. Because what they wanted to do was to educate them on how to get a good job, but put them into a behavioral theory at that time that would cause people to be afraid to fail, to have a point system that they were graded on, to have a hierarchy system that they got used to being brought up into so that they would be obedient to people above them. Okay, that system was to get a good paying job in the global workforce. It was not, and they refused. They did not want to ever create entrepreneurs because they had a monopoly across America. So J.P. Morgan was involved in it as well. And this is not a conspiracy theory. There's a recording of John D. Rockefeller talking to a group of people. Somebody happened to record it. And he was thanking the New York Times, the Washington Post, and Time Magazine for their assistance in keeping private his global plan of workforce and his one world government. Okay, so it's not a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy, straight up, right? And if you read Charlotte Iserbyt's book, who was the senior policy advisor to the U.S. Department of Education, she will authenticate it and timeline every single cotton-picking detail of why Timmy stared out the window. And I'm so glad I did, because I got brainwashed a little less, okay? But I certainly had enough of it. All right, so that was, we kind of got off to the bad, on a bad step. In the military, you'll hear somebody go, ready, march. And my military guys just started moving back there, okay? Because everybody starts off on the left foot so that you are all in step. Okay, well, it seems as though network marketing was out of step. Forward, march. We started off on the right foot. So we're out of step. Why? We're out there talking about entrepreneurship. We're out of step. Point number 2, there were 2 theories around the time frame of the 1880s. One was the germ theory. The germ theory is that the wind blows, you catch a disease. You catch a bug, you catch a cold, you get it off the door handle, whatever it is. There was another theory at the time, and that was called the host theory. The host theory is that, well, not everybody in the tribe got wiped out. Why? If the wind blew, the wind blew. If they were kissing other people, and one person died and the other person didn't, there's got to be a reason for that. And the host theory is that you eat healthy, and so therefore the bug doesn't catch. The bug get in, but it doesn't do anything. It can't do anything because you got a strong immune system. So those were the 2 theories out there, all right? But it intersected with this polio virus thing. And when you really look at the numbers of it, the polio virus had gone from 10,000 down to about 400. And then the polio virus came back out, it shot back up to 7,000, and then it plummeted again. And so it had already dissipated. But nonetheless, network marketers, there were these people who were talking about nutrition, and they were talking about eating multiple colors of foods at that time. Okay, because the U.S. Department of Agriculture was cataloging all these various different nutrients that seemed to prevent disease. But they weren't nutrients yet because they hadn't looked at them under a microscope. And so they would say, people who get blind, no, not people who get blind. Yeah, people who get blind are deficient in eggs. And then later they looked at it and said, wait a minute, there's people with carrots or eggs. And then they looked inside it and they found this thing called Vital to Life. They named it Vital to Life. And it was that it prevented disease. And it was the first one they found. They used the first letter of the alphabet, and they called it vitamin A. And they did the same thing for vitamin B, vitamin C, vitamin D. In other words, they were cataloging nutrients that prevented diseases. Did I just say that nutrition prevents disease? No. I would never say something like that. They were just cataloging that. That was their categories, okay? All right, so then we had pellagra, scurvy, vitamin D, all these kinds of different things, okay? Okay, so, however, if you've done any research with Dr. Bruce Ames, he is a wizard, okay? He is incredible. He has proved withholding any nutrient can create any disease we know. If you just withhold a nutrient. We don't need scientists to do that anymore because we do it ourselves, okay? So now you see why there is an agenda and a campaign attack for the last 30 years that I've been tracking it, at least every 3 years. That's why they don't interview me. They don't want me up there. Man, I might free some of these people. Right? I'm Paul Revere or something, you know? Okay, so here's the way they do it so that you can kind of track it. You can watch what happens. So over here, what's the media? What do we call the media? Number one is newspapers, magazines, blogs, books, television, social media, marketers, and competition. Okay, so those are kind of how we define it now. And what they're after in their side of the equation is they're after eyeballs. And network marketing has 116 million people doing it. That's a lot of eyeballs. It's 64 million people, just Canada and United States. And so that leads them to be able to make advertising dollars because we look at it and we go, what are they saying about network marketing? And we watch it. Those are eyeballs. They're showing ads that whole time, so they make a boatload of money for doing it. They have some attractive character up there that could care less about any of it because if you've ever been on the TV, you'll see them talk like this, you know, and then they'll move over to another camera. They're talking about a completely different subject, and they're just the attractive character, right? They're puppets. Okay, that's what they are. They just move back and forth. Whoever writes the teleprompter is the one who has communication, at least, with the agenda maker. Okay, so the puppet master. Right, so that's the way it works. But what they know how to do really, really well is to provoke anger and shock, because those are the two things that cause sticky. It causes a person to be driving down the road and look to the other side because there's an accident over there. Okay, so that's the shock, the anger. Somebody stole my wheels off my car while I was shopping. Anger, right? It's sticky. It causes a person to stick onto it and watch it. And it causes people to repeat it. So if your uncle says, you in one of those pyramid schemes, right? You now know he got the whole persona, the whole idea from the way it was presented in the media. And so here's the other way it's done. This is stock trading. Anybody in here stock trade? You stock trade? Okay. All right. Do you know you make money when the stock goes down? Yeah, it's called shorting, right? So this guy up here in this one, he's such a gentleman. He bet $1 billion against Herbalife, and then he goes out and he tells the world that it's a pyramid scheme, and he's only doing this because of those poor South American Latinos who are getting ripped off. Wait a minute. Did you just say that you bet $1 billion against the company, but you didn't say that you were going to donate all profits to them? Wait a minute. I will believe you if you had told us first that you did the $1 billion thing. So if the stock went from 36 to 18, he'd make $1 billion. The stock did plummet, okay, but he didn't sell because he thought it was going to zero. All right, he even paid for a movie to come out called Betting on Zero. What did he say? It's a pyramid scheme, no customers, scam, predatory, people lose money, deception. The same exact riddle for 70 years now. All right, they haven't changed. They haven't come up with an original idea on it. It's just the same things. Okay, it was a blip on Herbalife's history. The FTC made $200 million for doing it, for doing the investigation. Carl Icahn, the guy on the right, made $1 billion. I got a call from him, his person. And he said, Tim, is Herbalife a pyramid scheme? I said, no. That doesn't mean that they won't be found to be a pyramid scheme. It just depends upon the mood that the FTC's in. And he said, okay. And he bought the stock up. Do you see how it plummets right about here? and then he bought it, and then that line that's black that goes across and it went above it, went down below, that's the investigation, and then it went up. Well, Carl made $1 billion. This guy lost his shorts. Okay, so why did he want to go negative in the media? Because he wanted to make $1 billion. But all of us take the wrath. Our friends see that in the meeting and go, oh, I saw something, Herbalife's a pyramid. And they never come back out and say, we're sorry that we damaged the rapport of Herbalife. We're not liable because we were quoting somebody else. Okay? And so keep this in mind when your next door neighbor is saying something's a scam or a pyramid. This guy's willing to bet $1 billion on it. Okay, MLM success rate. Anybody hear that most people fail? If you make money, you ever hear it? Okay. It's true, but they take it out of context. So that's a way to manipulate thoughts. They take things out of context. They don't give you the right context to view it. So the numbers quoted by John Taylor, who wouldn't debate me, is 95% quit, 5% make money, 0.15 reach the top income level. Top income level is most of the time over $1 million. And he said, just do the math, the numbers don't lie. Okay. Then there was a guy who made a comment, and he said, the reason people fail is because of mathematical certainty. What does that mean? Anybody know? What does mathematical certainty mean? Anybody know what that means?
It always produces the same result.
What?
It always produces the same result.
Always proves the same results. Very good. How does Mr. Math know Tim Sales? In other words, who chooses to be on the 95%, 5%, or the 0.1 side? Who chooses that? How does math choose that? What mathematical certainty is if all things stay the same, then your answer is true. Okay? So what if a variable changes? Can a variable change? Can training change it? Yeah. If it was a mathematical certainty, how could I do it twice? 0.15%? If it was mathematical certainty, what are the odds of me being able to do it twice? Who's the math guy? What's that odd? Yeah, it must have been what I was doing when I was staring out the window in elementary school. Okay? All right. So I'm going to put this in context. First of all, what is the value of a statistic? Is it to make everybody go to apathy and think, oh, there's no use? Is that the purpose of math? Why else would you focus on the 0.15% and that so few people make it and you are just part of everybody else? It's because you've been trained, indoctrinated to feel like you want to be average. That's what happens. That's the truth of it. Right? I'm going to show you some other ones in just a second. But the only value of any statistic is to open up the successful ones and say, what did they do, and create something for how to do that. That is the only reason you ever look at a statistic. You don't use it to say, oh man, it's no use, most people fail. Right? That's how people end up using it. All right. So let me show you a couple of examples of this. So the number of people, and I'm going to show you this up here. You're going to have to look real close. I hope if I push the center button it works. Got it. It does. All right. So this is weight loss. Anybody here know anybody who needs to lose weight? Okay. Weight loss success rate. Okay, so for men, chances of success, 1 in every 210 people. The probability of winning is 0.47. Probability of losing, 99.53. So weight loss in context is the same as network marketing. But they won't say context, will they? All right, so the women, I don't talk about women in weight loss. It's over here. You're welcome to look at it. I have learned good lessons as being a husband, okay? All right, so 278,000 people study. That's a big study. It was written by a PhD. Once an adult becomes obese, which is body mass index of 30, very unlikely that they will ever return to a healthy body weight. PhD. You bow to the authority and the educated, right? All right. So, and 78% of those, half of people, gain it back. All right? 5 years, 78% of those that did lose weight gained it back. Did you just kind of feel like an uppercut just took your chin out? You just fell flat? All right? So why would they focus on this? Why do they tell you this? If they didn't open it up, I guarantee you a study this big was paid for by the pharmaceutical industry for the purpose of coming out with a drug. Because if they get you into apathy, then I might as well take the drug, right? Maybe it worked. Okay, so I had my own bout with this. So this over here, this is me at a body mass index of 30. All right, that was 60 days later, no exercise. And that was 60 more days later, only doing push-ups, pull-ups, things like that. Okay? Because what I did was I opened up the 99.53. What did they do? Well, it's very easy. They exercise 3 to 5 days a week. They do calories 500 below their basal metabolic rate. They eat protein somewhere between 20 and 30%, 30 to 60 on carbs, and 10% on fats. It's very easy. All you got to go to Harvard, Yale, any of them, and they'll tell you that. So it's known what the subcomponents of that statistic is. All right. Well, I found that to be a lie because I have a lot of discipline. I'll eat lettuce and I'll run for, as long as you tell me to run. I'll be Forrest Gump, okay? But I found that was not true. These things had a play in it. And so I adopted this, got these results, and I said, maybe it was only me. I need to do a study of my own. So I recruited 24 older men, 40 to 80 years old. They were actually 40 to 65 years old. The average statistic of my guys was 26.7 pounds. We're not young college students like the test they did. We're old, set in our ways, hamburger, French fry eating, beer drinking, we got attitude, you know what I mean? And so, statistically speaking, I shouldn't have had one person succeed. I should have had 210 people before I got one to succeed. Remember that? Do you guys remember me pointing that out? Okay, so if that statistic is 1 out of every 210, in order for me to get one guy to lose 26.7 pounds, I should have had 210. Okay? But every single one of these guys lost weight. Somebody said this isn't typical. I said it is. It's the average. It's just not typical for somebody to show you their averages. Do you get this idea of opening up the statistic to figure out what works and then train people on it? That's the main point I want to get. I want you to get this and know this, because people will put you into apathy by talking about your odds. Oh, this cancer looks really bad. Your odds of living are only about 2%. Right? Shut up. Tell me stuff like that. Okay? Average income of a day trader, 99% fail. In fact, 3 months their account's dead. In order to day trade, you have to have $25,000 in your account. So they lost $25,000 in 3 months. 99% of the people. Why is the media talking about this? Why are they talking about network marketing? Okay? 83% of real estate agents fell after 5 years. It costs $2,000 your first year. And that's not any of your signs or any of that kind of stuff. You do it for 5 years, you've lost a whole lot of money. Okay? But it's in what they didn't do. When they talk about us, they don't put it in context and say, don't compare us to somebody who's got a job. This is what Rob Sperry was saying. Don't compare us to somebody who's got a job. That's not a fair comparison. only compare us to others who can make unlimited income. Then compare us. All right. So, and they also don't put out this piece. This is what I call the pipeline. You're going to really learn this. Pipeline. Generate leads, contacts, appointments, presentations, and follow up. Name any church that doesn't do this. Name any college that doesn't do this. I'm serious. Try to name one, and if you can, I'll give you the example of how they do it. They do a football game. That's their advertising. That's how they generate leads. Okay, church, they use friends and family. Maybe send out a flyer. How do politicians even get known? They got to do this. So what they don't do in the media is they don't tell you network marketing. They're just doing what everybody else does in business. They don't say it. They say, you're going to bug your friends and family. You're going to hurt your relationships. You're going to cut off your friends and family, right? They say junk like that, right? They say it's a pyramid. You ever heard that? Okay, well, that's kind of funny when I first looked at it because this is the U.S. Navy SEAL team. This is our structure. This right here, these are shooters right here. This is a fire team leader. We call that the unit. The unit, there are 4 of us, and that's the squad leader. Squad leader, there's 4 of them, and that's the platoon leader. Why do we use this? Because when we get into combat, we don't know how big the opposing side's going to get. What if they bring in China on us, right? We got to be able to expand infinitely fast. And so the reason that this structure is created, and it's called decentralized command, is that I'm kicking down a door going in. The platoon leader doesn't need to know. He's not the person who's going to say, go. Right? He needs to be looking at strategy. Fire team leader is on the radio with a squad leader so that we can do synchronized room entries. Okay, so that way people aren't calling each other going, hey man, we got the heat coming down on us. Okay, so it's called decentralized command. You give responsibility down the line for not everything, but a certain amount. And that's exactly what we do in network marketing. We decentralize command. And so when people say it's a pyramid because of the shape, I'm like, what? Okay, is that bad? Because it's what the SEAL team uses so that it can expand rapidly and infinitely. It's so rapid in the way that it expands. And they say, you don't get customers. I so badly wanted Bill Ackman, the billionaire who traded against Herbalife. I so badly wanted to ask him because he was on a press conference with the FTC and he's talking about that they don't get customers. And I was like, Bill, how many customers do you have when you trade stocks? When you buy a stock and you make money on it, you have no customers. Where's the customer? You get that? You see, when I was looking out the window of my high school, or all of it, I was having original thoughts. And we're allowed to have them as human beings. We're allowed to think freely. We can say, when was the last time that lottery, if you win money in a lottery, that you have to have a customer in order to make money? How about Vegas? You pull a slot machine, where's the customer? You're the customer. You see what I'm saying? In other words, if you're going to say that, you've got to say it to everybody. So people pick on us and take things out of context. How about products too expensive? You ever hear that? A gross generalization, I'm like, oh, let me guess. Mr. News Reporter, you went to every network marketing company, you looked at every one of the products, all of the ingredients of every product in Nu Skin, every product in Amway, every product in Herbalife, you get the idea? They just generally say products are expensive. That is a data point that we flush down the toilet. We call it generalization next. In other words, move off of that. That's stupid. Okay? Does it make sense that there's a difference of price between these two things? Okay, let me teach you Sales 101. If you do not explain why this product is more expensive than this product, cheap wins, always. Make sense? Okay, so I had this guy's, my wife wanted to redo the windows in the house. And so he says, okay, the subcontractor was saying, we've got this $5,000 window and we've got this $3,000 window. Which one do you want? And I'm like, you kidding me? And he goes, you want the 3001? I go, no, I'm saying, are you kidding me? Because how can I make a decision one to the other? And my wife goes, just get the cheaper one. I go, no, I want to hear why that one's more. Come to find out, that one is made of vinyl, and because I live in the snow climate, it will expand and contract. And if you painted it a different color than gray, then it would crack and pop every year. I'm like, I want the $5,000 one because it's not made of vinyl. You just get the idea. So anytime something's more expensive and does not come with an explanation, everybody says it's expensive compared to McDonald's. And we know what's in there. You don't want to know, right? Okay, so it should not be a surprise. And why didn't they talk to Tim? I would have told them, oh, you can go out and get grapeseed extract for $20 a kilo or $450 a kilo. Which one's in your product that you compared? And I know that news lady would have went, what? You do data research. Oh, no, I'm in trouble, right? They want to just pitch it. The other thing, and just so you know how I always handle this objection, is number one is when somebody says expensive, it seems expensive. What I immediately know I failed to do, it's my bad. I did it, okay? I did not differentiate during my discussion. You have to differentiate your price. But if you did differentiate your price and then they say it, I normally say this phrase, why is yours so cheap? What are they leaving out? So I put that seed of doubt in their head so that they start going, oh, yeah. Do you know if those products came from China? Do you know which factory in China? Was it the one that shipped all of those rat chicken bones? You know, the chicken wings? Did you guys hear about that? Oh my gosh, all the guys who bellied up and watched the Super Bowl last year, there was just ships and ships of rat wings, not chicken wings. Do you see what seed of doubt does to you? Did you just feel that? Guys, did you belly up to the wings? If you did, you're kind of like, oh, I'm glad I left, right? That's what I'm talking about, and that's a true story, by the way, okay? So I say, why is yours so cheap? What do you know where they came from? If they don't say explicitly that they didn't come from China, then they probably did come from China. Okay, and then what harmful ingredients are in there? And so that was the pitch that I gave to the Unique group, or Unique, having to do with this lady who attacked her because she went out into the street and she tried to sell some of the Unique product, and some lady walks by real fast and she goes, "Would you like some skincare?" That was her example. And then somebody came to the table and she says, "What do you think of the mascara price, eh?" Who asked that? Right? She was baiting the lady. And that was her proof that their products were inexpensive. Why didn't you ask, does it have any, oxyzone? Do you know what I'm talking about? It's a particular product, an ingredient that just came out by the FDA that was proven thousands of times more pervasive inside the human body, and it is in makeup and skincare. So why didn't she talk about that? Because that's one of the selling points of Unique. So now you get the idea. You cannot generalize and make a comment called the products are expensive. That's a data point I want you to never forget, because people get a lot of mileage out of it, and it's like, compared to what? Remember the Windows comparison. Okay, they want to tell you that a job is better. Remember that was on my list? But what they don't tell you is that the average American hasn't had a pay raise since 1980 because the price of products went up. Right? Inflation went up. That's the average. Okay? The 60% and below. Okay? The top did. The top had that. And so then when you average it out, it looks like it's been rising, but it has not been rising for the lower 60% in the country. Okay? This up here shows PhD recipients and master degrees recipients. Okay? And so this shows what they're doing as a job instead of what they studied. Okay, so 482,000 PhDs and master degree holders are working at customer service reps. Waiters, waitresses, executive secretaries, receptionists, janitors. There's over 5,000 janitors who have a PhD. Okay, so they make it out to be that it's far better to have a job. But 69% of Americans don't have $1,000. They're one water heater away. Right? They're one problem away. Okay, this guy right here, he's incredible. Ray Dalio. He's a stock investor. And he was the one who exposed the wealth gap. 295,000 people, 295,000, yeah. Compared in all of this, 68,000 people are the top 1%. And they control as much money as all 90%. So that really is the people at the top making all the money. Okay, do you see that spread? That's interesting because that spread is every company, every country, everything works out that there's a few who make big. Okay? And that's why this industry is the very best, is because we teach people. We train people. And so we are the ones who can change the statistics. All right, so this one came in because of some guy who was attacking me in the comments. So, you know you're supposed to ignore the comments, right? I learn from comments. All right? And then I will private message them and I say, hey, thank you for your comment. I wrote a video on behalf of you. Okay? My negative comments are coming down fast. They must be telling each other, don't comment on Tim's planes. Because he came out and he was talking about Herbalife and that they gave away $1 million bonus to 200 people. And he said there are 70-year-olds in that group. What in the world could they possibly be adding to get that kind of bonus? It must be a scam. At a minimum, they're stealing shareholders' money. And I'm like, oh my gosh, boy, you're going down. So I created a video, and it's called $2 Million Bonus. Okay, find that video on Network Marketing Power. All right, but what I got to share with you, you'll never be able to undo this. When you learn this, you'll never be able to get it out of your head. Okay, so just picture that I'm the head of Procter & Gamble. I'd never be that evil. But let's just say that I am. And you came along and you said, I want to be a sales rep. And I say, okay, good. So I'm going to pay you $50,000. And I'll give you $20,000 bonus anytime you go over a certain amount. All right, and you just sign this contract here. All right. It's an employment contract. And so she goes out and she gets 7-Eleven. They're sharing Tide soap. They're bringing toothpaste. They're doing all our stuff, right? And so she gets $50,000, $20,000 bonus, and she gets to stay next year. I get to keep the profits for decades. Do you guys get that? Because that's a big one. That is the reason we are hated. Because if I can hire her and lock her up into a contract, she closes a deal with 7-Eleven that brings me in $9 billion of profit per year, and I only had to pay her $70,000. I'm a smart businessman because I did a better deal. Do you know what network marketing is going to pay you? Around 40 to 50% of that deal, as long as it still pays. In other words, as long as 7-Eleven is still out there selling it, then your company is going to keep on paying you. You know how different thinking we are? Does that build your armor just a little bit? Now you know what a salesperson? Yeah. Now you know that all the salespeople who work in all these companies, you think about the lady who goes into a salon and she's trying to sell a Clinique product or she's trying to sell something and she gets a salary plus commission. But if that person keeps on selling it, guess what? That person who had the employment contract is cut out of all future deal. Network marketing doesn't work that way. Oh, by the way, I sent him a message and I said, hey man, I wrote thank you for that question. It was very thought-provoking. And I wrote a video about it. And then it was about 4 hours and he goes, you shouldn't have bothered, asshole. Yes. So I've been defending you guys, like a sniper. Okay, you contrast what I just showed you with 200 reps earning profit share of $1 million each versus the average CEO income of $15.6 million. That's the top 350 firms in the United States. They make an average of $15.6 million. Why isn't the media pointing to it? Why are they talking about all those that fail in network marketing? Agenda. They've got an agenda, right? Okay. So network marketing. This is the way I explain it. Okay? So if you guys ever need an explanation, this is the simple way to do it. So, okay, let's talk about a job. Over here, you've got people who start the company. We call them the dreamers, and they're going to get executives, and they're going to come out with an idea. And they're going to put in policies in the products or service. They're going to start hiring or recruiting employees. And then they are going to have an offer for the customers. And they're going to have an offer also for all the employees. Everybody follow me right here? Okay. Here's the offer for all the employees. We're going to give you a salary, no upside potential. Okay? Network marketing starts exactly the same way. It has a big building. It has all of these things in play. It goes over here to network marketing, and the only thing different is we're not going to pay salary. We'll pay the upside potential of what you build. So it's the opposite. So if you got 7-Eleven, you'd be making it forever. That's the fundamental difference between the two companies. They try to make network marketing out to be like this weird, you get somebody that then gets somebody that then gets somebody, and they create confusion, and confusion ignores. Like confusion does one of these things. They don't want to understand. They won't try to understand it anymore. And so they do this on purpose, in my opinion. It's not. If you go into any sales organization, the sales manager is not getting customers. He's managing sales reps. You see? So what's the big deal that some of the people have recruited sales reps and are training them? Every company in the world does that. Okay. And by the way, you wondering why Jackson Storm's sitting here? Because my son, my 3-year-old, he'll come in and Jackson Storm will be sitting on the counter, and he'll come in and he'll pick him up and he'll start doing this with him. And pretty soon he's driving him around the whole couch, and he jumps it in the air, and then he turns over and he's going, wow. Right? He's injecting life into Jackson Storm, which is a piece of plastic. And network marketing isn't any different. You inject life into your business, or you don't. You set it down and you walk in the other room. So the people who make money are the people who inject life into something. Okay, so this is from the IRS. In America, we don't like them. This is the amount of 1099 income based upon the income. Let me explain it because it's really important. What it's showing is that this right here is $100,000 a year, and you can see these start going up. What that means is that people who make above $100,000 a year are making it from 1099 income, and the people who have a job are all below there. And so where is the wealth? The wealth is in 1099 income. That's $1 million right at that line. That's the 80% of the population, no, that's the 20% of the population making 80% of the money. This is the 80% of the people making 20% of the money, complaining about the people over here. Wanting more taxes from these people to give these people things. Okay? All right. And if somebody ever quotes John Taylor to you, John Taylor was one of the 6 anti-people. So he said that 70% of regular businesses fail, so 30% succeed compared to network marketing, which is 95% fail. But I chase stack data points. I find everything. I read into everything that he says, and he quotes his statistic from the SBA, which is the Small Business Administration. And I go, so I go and I check it out. But what he failed to tell you about that 70% fail was that the average loan at the SBA is $380,000. Well, no kidding, John. The average person is going to spend about $2,000 to get into network marketing. If somebody had to spend, $380,000 if they got a loan for that, you think they'd work harder? Yeah, so that is not an apples to apples comparison, okay? So, all right, that's the job better. Next one, evil to recruit. Really? How do business owners find employees? Delta Airlines, 86,000 people. American, 126. Walmart, 2.2 million. Procter & Gamble, 95,000. How are vacant positions on sports teams filled? How does a person find a spouse? You got to recruit. Every one of these. You call it job, you call it salary, you call it whatever it is. It's all recruiting. A business either recruits employees or independent contractors. That's all there is in businesses. All right, so now you know network marketing is first class. It's ethical. Yeah. I congratulate you. That is a lot. That takes me a long time to unpack that if I had sponsored you. Okay, you just got it shoved down your throat. Lots of luck. All right, the rest of this is more in training and how you do and what you do on a daily basis, that kind of stuff. Okay, so reps secretly believe they can't do network marketing. All right, so you've been told that you must talk to your friends and family, and that's going to ruin relationships. Feel some inferiority, therefore can't do it. Okay, so what's this inferiority? Maybe that you feel like that you can't sell, no college education, no business experience, can't work 14-hour days like the people on social media are talking about, can't walk up to strangers and talk, don't have the money. You know, like most of the time people that I find is like they just got this secret thing that they're hanging on to. And I want that to be a lesson to you, okay? So if somebody's signed up and they're not doing something has got their foot stuck to the carpet. Something. And your job is to find it. And that is the most heroic job you'll ever have in your life. Because I think that a lot of people hold themselves back. Okay, I had the honor of sitting down with some people last night in the VIP. We had some incredible discussions. And I saw as I asked questions, this person had these sticking points, right? And it was like, and I watched it and I was like, man, I just want to go out and go to somewhere real busy and just blow your circuits right out of your head. You know, it would take me about an hour and you screaming for about 40 minutes of it. And then you would go, this is so simple. Why didn't you say so? Yeah, exactly. Right? And so in other words, a person had just gotten wound up around the wagon wheel. You know, they don't even know which way to look anymore. And so it's real simple. Okay, and I'm going to make that real simple for you. And so this inferiority, just know that people get it. All right, it happens. Every one of us had it. Okay, I had it. I'll never forget. I thought that if I didn't have a college degree, then I was a nobody. And what right would anybody have to me? Okay, I was building my business in Washington, D.C. I was running ads in the Washington Post. People who would answer the ads were wingtips. You guys know what that is? Oh, we're in the wrong hotel. Sorry. All right. So they would always ask me, what school did you go to? Hickson High School? Wasn't what they wanted to hear, okay? And I remember going up to Tony Robbins, and I said, I was nervous. You can't imagine how nervous I was, okay? And he said, and I said, I have something holding me back. And he goes, what is it? And I said, I didn't go to college. And he said, well, what have you done? I said, well, I was in the Navy in the Spec Ops, and I'm in network marketing. And he goes, are you making any money? I said, yeah, I made about $60,000. He goes, hits me in the side of the arm, and he goes, you got a PhD in results, man. Get out of here. And he walked away. He said it. He slapped me on the arm and said, you've got a PhD in results. You don't need no education. Literally said it. You don't need no education. My man. I like this man. Yes. Okay? All right. So it's always just something there. All right. I'll touch on it in a second. You've been told or believe that network marketing is hard. Okay? Is it hard? To me, raise your hand if you think it's hard. Okay. Let me just get this straight. So, in my office, at my house, I have a chair. Okay? It has little rollers on it. And I have 3 handles over here, and I have 2 handles over here. This one over here will lean this part back, right? And then there's a swivel here that I can roll my whole chair back and put my feet up on the desk. Right? You guys get this idea, right? Okay, so I've got a stand-up desk over here so I can throw another leg and I can just sit here and swivel back and forth, right? I live on a big farm. It's got my horses, it's got cattle, it's got crops, it's got all kinds of stuff out there, right? Sometimes there's elk that walk up to the fence right in front of me, looking in, going, I can get up out of that chair. I can go into the kitchen. I can make a peanut butter sandwich. Anytime I want. I can play with my kids for a little while. I can get fresh drinking water. Like right from the stream through a filter into my house, right? I can come back and I can sit down. I've got this phone, and it's a headset. Right? I don't even have to hold my arm up. Who the hell is saying this is hard? What kind of life have you had? Did somebody pet you? I had a prospect not show up. It's so hard. What? You know what we used to do? We used to jump out of airplanes. People are shooting at us. What? Are you joking? You know how scary it is to be like a duck coming down and you hear bullets flying, right? And you know if you heard the gunshot, that wasn't the one because the bullet goes faster than the sound. And so it's like when you hear, that bullet was already past. It would have killed you. Do you know how crazy mind-wrecking that is to know that when you're like... Because you'll be hit dead before you ever hear it, okay? And so people say it's hard. And I remember sitting on the front row and the person was talking about it is a hard business. And I'm like, all right, there's something I don't know about this. Because, or these people are spoiled rotten. Okay, don't ever tell yourself that it's hard. That's the stupidest thing you could ever say. Okay, I had fun. Training on the pipeline. Okay, so let's jump in. So, do you have to talk to your friends and family? No, of course not. Network marketing is dynamic. I want you to remember that phrase. Network marketing is dynamic. Why? Because back when door-to-door worked, we used it. Back when home parties, or if now home parties work, we're going to use it. In homes, when they're effective, we use it. When print advertisements were most effective, we used it. When expos are most effective, we used it. When audio tapes, remember those little things? How many of you remember the 8-tracks? Yeah, baby. Okay. When fax machines came out, we used them. When kiosks are most effective, we used them. When VHS came out, we used them. Web pages are most effective, we use it. Video animation is most effective, we use it. Google AdWords, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, phone apps. Whenever the next big thing comes out, we'll use it too. In other words, we're shapeshifters. We can go anywhere and market in any way we want. If Google, Facebook, anybody slams the big arm down and shuts you down, shuts your groups down, and says we're shifting over to another strategy, then fine, good, we'll go back to expos. Everybody else's business is mud. You see, we are so maneuverable that we can just shift on a dime and do a different thing. We are so much more competitive than anybody else. Nobody owns our business but us, because we can just shift over and do it. Some guy's old school, let him do old school. That is a safe haven for you, because that person's going to do it differently. Maybe this person over here is like, no, my wife, she like gets on her phone, she'll text, right? I don't, I call. I'm like, talk to him, call her. There's a lot can be lost in the translation of a text, babe. And she'll go, no. Right? Where I want to hear the voice. Right? So it's great. Both of them are great. They're all great. Do I have to talk to my mom and dad? No. Right? I have to talk to them, but not necessarily about business. Right? Okay? So you don't have to talk to your parents. This one, or anybody if you don't want to. But you have to be willing to advertise. If you're not going to talk to your friends and family, you're going to have to advertise. Okay, so these phrases, I don't want to bug my friends. I don't want to trick my friends to come to an in-home. I don't want to drag people to a hotel meeting. All of those things is old debris. That's the way the business used to be run. When I first came in, people would say, I don't want to go door to door. And I'm like, okay, so at that particular time, I was working in Biscayne, Florida, busting doors down going into drug homes. Right? Because they would put the drugs in the refrigerator and wire it with explosives to blow up the DEA guys. And so I would go in and bust down the door, and I would go in. So when they would say, I don't want to go door to door, and I'm like, I'm not asking you to come to work with me. I'm just talking about it. And then I realized they're talking about Avon. Ding dong, Avon calling. I'm like, oh man, that's so old school, man. I was a kid then. So you get the idea. We can shift to any method of marketing. So what defines network marketing? We're all in network marketing, right? Can anybody define it? There's only one common denominator in them all. You pay on more than one level. That's it. do anything you want, wherever you want, with whomever you want, right? And man, John D. Rockefeller would roll over, man. He'd be like, no, get that guy off the stage now. Nobody's allowed that much freedom. We have to tell everybody what to do. See? All right, so the pipeline. So if the way you've seen network marketing done isn't cool, figure out a way that is cool. You're not locked into anything. I see people just emerge out of nowhere selling a toothpaste that is 20 years old. Okay, so New Skin launched something, and I was in it way back. They had this toothpaste. The toothpaste is 25 years old. Some girl comes in, wants to make it cool, and she goes out and sells it and does $34 million in sales on the toothpaste that we couldn't sell in 1992. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is so cool. So anybody who says I can't generate leads, smack yourself in the head. Okay, are you kidding? Social media has changed everything, all right? So don't let anybody ever tell you that network marketing is unprofessional. Anybody can build any way they want. Okay? Okay, let me get into some of these specifics. So, generate leads. What does that mean? That means that you're going to contacts. That means flip your phone open. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, expos, postcards, buy leads, banner ads, books. It's endless. There's 7 billion people. Get some. Okay? Don't say I don't have anybody to talk to, but if you do, duck, because I'm going to be swinging at you. I'm joking. Okay, so however you generate the leads, I'm going to give you some examples in a minute. However you generate the leads, the next step is you're going to have to contact them. If you were to go into a restaurant, okay, what got you there? Maybe they paid extra rent in order for you to have a particular spot in the city. So there's walk-by traffic, okay? So that's where they spent their money was on rent. You walk into a restaurant and you talk. Who's the first person you talk to? The maitre d', right? So there's your contact. And then you're going to be taken to a table. You're going to be presented the specials as well as a book-ish looking thing. And then you're going to get your order, you're going to eat, and they hope that you come back, right? And so they might give you a coupon if you come back or something like that next time, discount or something like that, okay? So you can take every profession in the world, not just business, but every profession, and I can break it down for you if you need to ever see it. So you just need to think like a real business owner, like a real place, and just say, I need people to jam into my restaurant, or into my yoga studio, or into my whatever. How do I get people? That's the only thing that I want you to do. The next thing is that you want to contact them. Okay, now, there is a particular way that I do it. I call it the inviting formula. The very first step is that word right there, greet. Just like a maitre d' is going to say, thank you for coming. How many people are you wanting a table for? Or something like that. They'll say it with a French accent, and they'll say it eloquently or something. But what I typically do with people that I know is, first, if I were to start today, I would just really want to start reaching out to them. Not talking business. I just want to reach out to them. Because, like we lived and died for each other. Well, we didn't die. I couldn't call him if he had died. I wouldn't be calling him if I was dead. But we were all willing at the time to die for one another, and so we're pretty good friends. That doesn't mean I have the right to ask him to come in business with me. So what I just do is man, Randy, what's up? Well, I wouldn't call him Randy. I'd call him Bam Bam, because we all have nicknames in the military. I call him, hey, Bam Bam, what's up, man? What are you doing these days? I'm working at Home Depot. You like it? And he goes, that's all right. Good for a penny or two. Nice. How's your boy Josh? Oh man, he's got a kid, but we just have these kind of conversations, right? And I'm not gonna like just spring a business on him. You get the idea? Because that would be awkward. Right? So how do I go about it? I'm hunting. I want to know, is there anything that I have that he needs, wants, or doesn't want anymore? Okay, so if he wants to not work at Home Depot anymore, that's a don't want, right? I don't want to work at Home Depot anymore. Then I want to help him do that. So to the degree, and listen to this very carefully, to the degree that you can be another, you're in communication with that other. What? Let me get it. So you ever heard this generation gap? You got a guy in his 50s or 40s, and his son is playing video games, and he's in his young teens. They call it a communication gap. No, they call it a generation gap. I call it a communication gap. So you know what I do? Is when he goes to bed, I'm going to grab that video game and I'm going to learn it. Because I get respect points for being able to do what he does. I'm not going to get him trading stocks. I'm not going to get him into doing network marketing. I've got to get down to his level, and I've got to understand his world. I've got to think like he does. And so, all of a sudden, he's playing, and I say, hey, man, can I try that? And then I go over there, and I win that round, and he's like, Dad, wow, what was that? Okay, at that level is where you are now past the greeting. In other words, when somebody trusts you again, that's when you're at the greeting level. If they share something vulnerable with you, well, my husband was just diagnosed with cancer, and I need to really come up with a plan B here. You've got to be her for a moment to get that feeling. Because for you to genuinely help, you've got to become her for a moment. And say, well, what are you doing? What are you going to do? What have you written down so far? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, how can I serve you right now? Right? In other words, this isn't a trick. This is what mankind should be doing with one another. This is true relationships. This isn't gimmicky. This is where you are willing to give of you to another. All right? At that point, you've kind of duplicated who that person is, what their situation is, and how can you serve them. Okay, so sometimes it's not that dramatic. Sometimes it's just, man, I'd love to be playing golf. I go, you need an excuse? For what? To play golf. Are you inviting me to play golf? I am. Let's go play golf. Are you kidding me? Yeah, let's go play golf. So I invite him to go play golf. It gives me an excuse, and I get 4 hours with him. You see, that's the way that I do my invitations. That's the way I talk to people. When I call raw leads, and I'm talking about buying leads that somebody else did, I was testing all lead sources to try to find the best ones. And I go through a whole bunch of them. And I call people, and they're like, how'd you get my number? I go, you gave it to me. And they're like, I did not. I go, 4 minutes ago, on this IP address, you filled out this form. What? I go, uh-oh. Do you have a young son or grandson? And he goes, right? And he goes, what do you want anyway? And I said, I wanted to help you make money. Obviously, you don't want any. Okay? In other words, I hit the rhythm. I hit the antagonism that he's in. So that's kind of like, I want to just share with you that I don't have a script. I have a where am I when I first talk to somebody. I'm in a greeting. That's the greeting bucket. I don't talk about anything else that I'm going to show you. Okay? So I'm going to talk about greeting stuff. How's it going? How's your wife? How's your kid? How's your grandkids? How's your car? How's your golf game? How's your bowling game? How's this? How's that? I want to get to know the guy again. Okay? All of that conversation, I know where I'm going. I'm going into the qualify step, which is, what does he need or want or not want that I have? And I'm talking about anything in the world, because I am a switchboard. I'll throw my phone open and I'll give him that person that did this and this person that can do that for him. I just freely help everybody I can. Okay? So what am I waiting for before I go over here? I'm waiting for one thing. I'm waiting for that person to give me a vulnerable point. Because only then are we really talking. You get to the checkout counter, the lady beside and says, "Hi, did you find everything you were looking for?" "Yes." That's not a greeting. It's not a greeting. Okay, it's part of, but it's not a greeting. You got to get that vulnerable. "How's your day today?" "Fine." Not a greeting. Part of a greeting, but not a greeting. "You know, I really wished my shift was over because my feet are killing me." That's a greeting. Now I can move over into the qualified bucket, because she just qualifies for something that I can help her with. If you will learn to do this, it'll change your life. You will no longer be afraid to talk to anybody, because you're not trying to recruit them. You're trying to get a friend. You're trying to make a friend again that you used to had a long time ago. That's what this is all about. Once you get over into the qualified bucket, do they need something that a product of mine has? A business? Are they looking for something that I've got in my Rolodex somewhere? So I want to really listen to them. Okay? All right. So once I hit a qualify point, then I'm going to define the qualify. I'm going to say, So what you're saying, so let me just make sure I put this back to you. What you're looking for is a way for you to spend 6 hours a day on the golf course. Yep, that's what I want. I got a way to do that, right? I'm not telling you my script. I'm just saying I got a way to do that. I go, "What have you found so far?" Did you hear that? In other words, he opened the hole for me and I didn't do anything with it. Because now I'm doing what's called intelligence gathering. I got to find out his capabilities. I've got to find out his other options. I got to find out everything I can. So I asked him the question, "What have you looked at so far?" "Well, not much." Right? And he starts telling me what he's found so far. Okay, I know what those are about. I'm looking at this affiliate marketing thing. I'm looking at this, right? So he gives me some options. Now I know the comparisons. And so if I lose, I'm stupid, because I can smoke anybody because I know all the other data points. Okay. So if I could show you a way to stay at the golf course 6 hours a day, would you make the time to look at it if I sent it to you right now? Okay, so he told me what he really, really wanted, and I just tell him how he can get it. He's likely going to say yes. You get that? So I invite him to a presentation, or I invite him to a coffee shop to sit down with him, or I invite him, did I change that? So I'm going to invite him to one of these things. All right, once I get him there, or if it's a video or whatever, okay, so now we're at the close to action step right there. So I invited him, if I could show you a way to spend, in other words, you got to use their exact words because those have emotion. If he said, "I've got to get away from Home Depot," then I'm going to say, for you to get away from Home Depot, would you look at a video? I've got to duplicate it because he's got emotion behind those words. And then I invite him to look at something that's going to help him get what he wants. If it's weight loss, if it's whatever, I don't care what it is. I'm going to help him. And then I'm going to immediately go to close to action. Action is, I got to get him to watch this thing now. Okay? So that's the action step. Everybody with this? You following how I do this? It seems very mechanical, But it's a very smooth process. It's very quick, and when you do a few hundred of these, you're going to become like real smooth. All right, and then I'm going to follow up with him, total of 7 times, unless he tells me to stop before. I have found, and I don't care, I know a whole lot of people say, don't follow up, don't waste your time, blah, blah, blah. However, I have tracked it, I have statistically ran it, and 7 times will give you a result, typically 40 to 50% more people to ultimately join. Okay, that was a big number, all right? But after 7, you get a diminishing return. So I don't spend any more time than 7. The last one that I give, listen closely because this is important for friends. So if I call back and I don't get them to return my call, 7 times I'm going to call them back. I'm going to call them 2 times the week of that we last talked, 2 times the next week, and then 1 time the next week, and then the next week I'm going to give him a final call. And my final call is going to leave a message because he's not returned any of them. My message is going to say, John, all right, this is my last call, buddy. I'm going to assume because you did not respond to any of my previous messages that you're not interested. And dude, I want you to know that it is so cool for me, or with me, because you and I have been friends a long time, and I would never want a business to get in between us. If I've somehow damaged this relationship by asking you to look at this, then please let me know because I don't want you ducking and hiding from me. All right? And whatever damage I've got to make up, I will, man, because you are really valuable to me. So give me a call back and let me know if I've damaged this relationship. And I hang up. Okay? People call you back so fast you can't imagine. Oh, buddy, man, I'm so sorry. You know, I was just in church thing. I was just in this. I was just in that, blah, 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 right? Because they feel horrible because they've been standing up their friend. I do not ever try to recruit that person. He says this, that, and that, and yeah, man, I'll listen to your thing, man. No, buddy. No. I just want you to call me back. I just want to be your friend. All right? That's all that this is about. Okay? And then from that point on, if he ever asks me about it again, I will just dribble it. I'll just be like, man, it's going great. And I'll leave it at that. He's like, man, tell me about it. Tell me. I go, oh, man, you don't want to do this. You like to watch TV and stuff like that, and so you don't really want it. You don't really want to do this. So you say, well, Tim, you're taking it away. No, I'm waiting until that guy is going to match some energy level. I'm going to show you my criteria of recruiting somebody in just a second. But I want that guy to really come after me if he wants it and when he wants it. Okay? I'm not playing a game of, I'm pulling it away. No, it's not what I'm doing at all. I want him to really get. Okay. So, that's the close to action. That's the follow-up. Okay, so now, I don't invite everybody. I will do the greeting, I'll do the qualify, and I will end the call. Ads, friends, I go to a lot of charity events where there's donations, millions and millions of dollars. I will go through that room and I will talk to everybody. I'll greet, I'll qualify, I'll greet, I'll qualify. Not everybody gets an invitation from me. I'm looking for 3 things. Number 1, life force. How many of you know what life force is? Yes. Okay. James Lavelle talked about it. Okay? He talked about it. So, raise your right hand. Okay, what just happened? I asked your life force to raise your hand, and you agreed, and you raised your hand. In other words, all animation from the body comes from this thing, this soul, this spirit, this whatever you want to call it. Okay? This is the real us. So whenever I talk to my son about jiu-jitsu, I said, son, it's not strength. It's not body strength. The being or the spirit or whatever it is, it's in front of you. Okay, it's dragging you, okay? Right? When you're in a fight, the person who wins is the one with the most spirit, not the strength. Okay? That's what we're talking about. So I'm looking for life force. How much life do they have? What do they want to do? Yes, I can help a person get a fur coat. Yes, I can help a person get a Ferrari. I want to end slavery. You're my peeps. Get over here. We're working together. Okay? My son came home the other day and he said, Dad, did you know that it was Memorial Day? And he goes, do you know that the people in the military died so that we wouldn't have slavery anymore like we did way back then? I'm like, son, there's more slaves today than there ever has been. And he was like, what? Yep. I'll save that for a time when you're not 8. Because they're trying to steal 8-year-olds to go into sex slavery. So when I find somebody who's got a life force and a big thing, all right, then that's what I'm after. Number 2, I want to see if they own an excuse manufacturing machine. Because you can't turn that thing off, man. I don't have enough money to pay you for all your excuses. I don't have enough time in my lifetime to hear all of your excuses, because as soon as I handle one, you're going to come up with another one. If you've got a reason you don't have any leads, you're going to have reasons why you can't talk to them, and you're going to have reasons why you can't meet with them, and you're going to have reasons why that video is not good enough, and then you're going to have reasons why. In other words, have enough reasons to succeed. Have enough reasons to not come up with any other excuses. So that's what I'm looking for. Is I say, have you ever been in sales? I have. What happened to that? Oh man, the boss was just the biggest jerk. Tell me. Okay, I'll give you guys this real example. So we were looking at a nanny, and to be able to come over on certain times of the team when they wanted, like we have this like council group, and my wife and I are both on it, and so we try to be there. And so we were looking at this nanny, and this nanny says she came in and she had a wrist cast on her arm, and I said, "What happened to your arm?" And she goes, "Somebody hit me from the back." And I said, "Oh, man, why were you there?" What? I just was wondering if she had an excuse manufacturing machine, right? And so she goes, "This is the 6th time it's happened." What are the odds of that? Right? Like, at a minimum, you have to say, "I was there." Right? So there's some way to always be responsible and take ownership for something. You can always do that. So that's what I'm looking for. Do they take ownership? I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. Know that feeling? And we keep on going. Okay, so that's, have you ever been in network marketing? Yeah, my upline, they never did anything. Bye. Well, did he promise you something he was going to do? Right? Like that kind of thing would be the question I'd be asking. Okay, so I'm looking to see if they have an excuse manufacturing machine. Next is training interest. How many of you saw the Facebook Live that I did with Ariana and I showed the grades? Okay, I'm going to show it in just a second, but basically, if the person doesn't have an interest in training, so I give the person a series of things that they have to watch before I will get on the phone with them. If they don't watch them, then their interest in training is very low, and we're not going to have a good relationship because I can't teach anybody who doesn't have an interest in training. If they say, "I watched some of it," next. You had your shot. 57 millionaires in 7 years. You screwed it up. How did you not listen to what it was? Like, can you just fathom how ridiculous that is? In other words, people talk about self-sabotage. I see it in no bigger way than training interest. You mean to tell me the guy makes this amount of money and he's made this many millionaires and you want to say you didn't have time to watch all of it? Right? Do you know where, so that guy, Rick Mayo, who sponsored me when I answered in the ad, that $20,000 a month ad, He said to me, I'm going to have you watch a video, okay? And I said, yes, sir. I lived in the barracks. I didn't have a VCR, okay? I lived with a whole bunch of men, like 300 men, okay? We don't get TVs. We don't get VCRs. At least we didn't in those days. And so when I got it opened up, I hoped there was a Post-it note or something other than a VHS video. And there was nothing, not a brochure or anything. And so I took that to Montgomery Ward Shopping Center. I walked into the electronics part because that was the only place I knew where VCRs were. And I went up to the salesman and I said, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't have an interest in buying a VCR right now, but if I ever do, I will come back here and buy it from you, but I need to watch this video. And this was on my lunch break, and he says, come on, son, we're not busy. And he took me back. I'm dressed like a tree in the military. He takes me back, we plugs it in, and it came across all the TVs in the whole place, right? And we sat there and watched a 40-minute video about fleas jumping out of a jar. Okay? Anyway, it was called Your Turn to Win. It was an old video, but I was just talking about how they train circus fleas by putting a lid on and they keep banging their head and then they don't jump so high. And is that you? Have you become a trained flea where you're not willing to jump any higher to get out of the jar? And that thing so pierced my heart, and that's the reason I joined network marketing, is because of a flea. Okay? All right, I knew I was trapped when I read that story. Okay, so now you get it. Training interest is one of the most vital, but those are the three things that I look for. And I have no qualms about saying, you know what, I don't hear superstar here. I'm sorry, I want to train superstars, I want to help people make money, but I'm not hearing it in what you have to say. And so, so maybe give it some time. If you have a stronger interest later, call me back. I hope this doesn't invalidate you in any way. I don't mean to, but I just have to really make sure that it's a right fit, and I don't feel it's a right fit. Okay? Don't let them try to talk you back into it then. Just say, thank you, thank you. Okay? James said it better than I've heard it said. When he talks about you've got to guard that life force, there are vampires that suck the life out of you. Your whole experience is about the people you're surrounded with. And so, man, just take the swords and cut off the people who you're trying to drag with you because they're holding you back. Their attitude. As soon as somebody says anything about the company, I say, I'm going to give you the person who you need to talk to, all right, about that. And then I call. And then I make sure they get their answer. I'm on the phone with them. And then we hang that person up and I say, okay, let me just share something with you. You don't bring me anything negative again. Okay? I've devoted my life to this company. This company makes great decisions, and I don't want you to complain. I've given you the number of where you go to get solutions. You don't complain around the water fountain about stuff. Okay? My life force is all I've got. I don't want to hear it. Because I'm in partnerships with the owners. You know what I'm saying? All of you are. And so when they cut down a product, you know, a fax machine shows up instead of a product. Oh, let me give you the number of where you call to report that, right? Because I'm always trying to make sure that they know where the source to get solutions are. So they don't complain. Because some people just have to have drama, right? And I don't want the drama. So, and then she did this, and then I called this, and I was on wait for like 15 minutes. My kid's screaming in the background, and I'm like, okay, ladies, okay. That's the number to call next time, right? Like, what can I do about all of that? Kids screaming and all of that, I can't do anything. So try to tame down the drama, all right? And don't let it hit you. Okay. Wow. All right. Okay, so here are my daily actions. So you saw the pipeline, and these are my daily actions. So the very first thing in the morning, cultivate goals. I use the word cultivate because it's a farming term for cultivation of soil, and that means that I read it and I visualize it, and a lot of times right then and there I have like an idea of a marketing idea. I have an idea of how to say something different. I have an idea of something. Okay, so I don't spend a lot of time. I might spend 3 minutes if I don't have to write a note down. Sometimes I come up with a big whole sales funnel, and I'm like laying out the sales funnel. And that might take me 15 or 20 minutes. But that's the first thing that I do. And then number 2 is self-training. Self-training. What do you train on? You train on these things. Don't train on anything else for right now. Okay? And that's what the self-training is about. And do you notice it has 1/hour? Once an hour. You get 1 point per hour. Okay, of training. So you guys would have got a lot of training points. Okay? So these are weighted averages. I put a weighted value on these because the most productive thing you can do is train a new rep. That's why I give you 5 times the amount of generating a lead. Sponsoring somebody is 4, retail sales is 4, presentations is 3, because these have more value. So if you're ever split about what do I do right now, it's more valuable to talk to a rep, to train a new rep than anything else because you multiply yourself. By the way, sometimes people confuse residual income and network marketing. I'm in a lot of inner circles, and I hear these affiliate marketers talking about residual income. And I just kind of like, I'm sitting there smiling, you know. This is their world. I'm in it because I want to know the cutting edge in marketing. And so it's part of what I do for learning, right? And I hear these guys talking about their world, right? And they've got 65 employees, and they're like, and they're all women because this is a particular women. And he goes, how can they all have their period on the same week? and I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, I said that, not that, but I said something similar a long time ago. I said, if you have 100 employees, it's like running an adult daycare center. And so they don't know, they think what they've got is residual income. They don't. You see, here's the difference. If I have a cell phone service, then I'm paying AT&T a residual income, right? Everybody got that? Okay, name another one. Good, good. Okay, so now you're thinking with this, okay? So if I'm paying something, somebody else has got a residual income, okay? But here's the deal. These phones don't multiply. These phones don't go get other phones. They do not have what we have. Okay? I can sponsor 76 people and have 34,000 people now. People in affiliate marketing, you ain't got that. Okay, you ain't got that. Okay, you can go out and you can hit your affiliate marketers out there. They can blast their list and then over. You got to go to another one. Then you got to create another product. You got to create another sales funnel. You got to create another. Are you kidding me? Okay, it's not the same. All right, don't think the Amazon seller, the number one in the world. I know him very, very well. Okay, and he tells me the nightmares. Okay, the number of people who know where he puts his shipments of stuff from China, and they break into it and steal all of his stuff all the time. Okay? You've got problems in everything. Don't think that there's some cherry business out there, other than this, that's got all the problems wired. No, we're the ones that got all the problems wired. Okay? I was trying to use my phone to do that. Okay, so let me just make sure you got all of those. So, generate leads, connects, appointments, presentations. This is the only thing that I've done different. Sales, sponsored people, new rep training. Okay, so you saw the pipeline that went horizontal. This one goes vertical, and I added into it retail sales, sponsored people, new rep training up here, and I put cultivate goals and self-training on this end. So that is my daily activity sheet. That is what I do every day. Nothing gets in my way. If you're trying to lose at any game in network marketing, just simply don't do this. If you're trying to lose, come up with any excuse that prevents you from doing this every day. Congratulations, you're trying to lose. In other words, you've got to understand, people kind of think like that nobody wants to die. But if you've been in a combat situation, there's people who are definitely trying to die. Okay? Like, you don't jump out of a foxhole like an idiot and run into a 50 caliber gun. You just don't sanely do that. Those are the guns that go boop, 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 right? You don't do that. And so somebody may act like he's trying to be heroic. No, he's trying to die. Okay? Somebody who knows that food is killing him and keeps eating that food, he's trying to die. I'm sorry, but you can't sugarcoat it with me. You can with everybody else. The doctor might say it a different way, but that's the facts. And so if somebody is trying to not succeed, then all they're doing is finding something to do other than this. Right? There's a stupid game in network marketing called I'll pretend to train you and you pretend to work and we'll blame the company. I didn't buy into it because I could see it for what it is. So don't you either. I know that was a real strong statement that I just made. But I've given you so much information beforehand so that you can see this is and only what does build a business. This allows you to come in and any system anybody wants to do out there. Oh, I'm not like them. I have to use this video. I'm not like them. I have to drive this car. Whatever it is, whatever gimmicky thing that people want to be different, say, I don't care what you do. I don't care what video you use. Just do these steps. Because it's a part of everybody's system somehow. And if it isn't, trouble. Okay? It's not going to work. All right. Let me give you some examples. So somebody always says, Tim, what ads do you run? And I'm like, oh my gosh. I immediately know how little that person has been running ads. Because I run 127 different ads to find the 2 or 3 that work. Okay, that's what real people do these days. And they did it way back when it was print advertising, direct mail. So I'll run 126 to find these 3 that got about 70% or 65% of all the clicks. So I wanted to build an organization over in China. All right? I don't speak Chinese. Is that an excuse? I solved it. I ran ads in Canada. I ran ads in the United States, Australia, UK, New Zealand. Every English-speaking country I ran ads in. These ads. Okay? Zooms. 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 And more Zooms. Old school. I sit in my chair. I hear ping. Oh, they're here. Hi. That's how far I got to walk. Go to a meeting. Guys, we used to hang out at Denny's waiting for people. We used to go to hotels and stand there for hours and hours and waiting on people. All right? We didn't have cell phones for them to say, hey, I'm not making it or I'm running late. We didn't have those. Okay? So when people say it's hard to do Zooms, I'm like, I just stand up and turn around and look at the camera. Okay, so lots and lots and lots of Zooms. That's what I do. Okay? And out of every 15 contacts, these are leads. So this is just a Trello board. I've got an app coming out for this, but and I'll let you guys know. But this right here is generate leads, and this one over here is contacts. So if I generate a lead, I'm going to reach out to them. And if they respond back, that's what a contact is. For every 15 contacts, I get 2 to sign up. That means my numbers are 1 in 7. Of contacts, not leads, of contacts. And I might talk to the person 2 or 3 times. I might have a spouse on the next time. I might do some sort of a product conversation. I might do all kinds of different things. Okay, but this is the way that I do it. And then I just move the card, right? So that's like a little 3x5 card if you wanted to look at it that way. And I just slide it over to this category when I have an appointment set. And then once I've completed the presentation, I put it over here into follow-up, right? It's just the way I just drag it across. Well, secret be told, once they're a retail customer, I'm going to put them right here. And I've got a journey planned for that retail customer. I have a journey planned for the person that I sponsor them. I'm going to move them over here, and then over here, and then over here, and then over here, and then over here. Because I've figured out how to get really, really wealthy. It's just to have 10 people who are making 10 times more money than me. So I got a cool plan. Right? Like you would do that, right? That would be the plan that you would do. If you wanted to make a whole lot of money, is just get 10 people to make more money than you, 10 times more money than you. Okay. And then, and different comp plans. I've worked a couple of different comp plans, 2 of them. And the last one that I did way back in the 90s is that I had to build 6 lines in order to make $100,000 a year. Okay? And this one I have to build, it's infinitely deep, but I have to build 2 to $50,000 a month in order to make $150,000 a year. Okay, so I just play the game. All right, good. So I build it. And how do I build it? Here's the specifics of what I do. If you don't get paid in your compensation plan for building one side, in other words, you have to build 2 sides to balance it. If you have to do that, then I'll show you exactly what I do, okay? For those of you who use Unilevel, where you can build multiple lines, but you get a limit on depth, I suggest you figure out exactly what the numbers are for you to make $100,000 a year, because almost everybody will leave their job at $100,000 a year, and you've got to get people to leave their job, okay? So that's like milestone 2. Milestone 1 is getting them signed up, getting them trained with what I've just talked to you about. You got to make them armor strength strong. You got to let them see that this industry is very, very different. You got to give them what they need to do, really, to make this business go. Okay, and once you've got that, all right, then you got to get them to milestone 3. Milestone 3 is where you're going to get those people to an income that causes them to quit their job. All right. So, in a binary, what I do is that in the first one, I build both sides as balanced as I can, but I'm not too worried about it if one outruns the other one. Okay? I just did a really stupid thing. Just when I joined, I donated all of my money to a charity, all of it. My wife was like, "All of it?" I go, "All of it, all of it, all of it." I love you. And so I didn't have any money, but I had confidence. And so I just built, all right? And I just went straight down, and we optimized, got to the level to where it was about $2,000 a week, and then the rest of them I build one at a time, okay? Because I like the that whole joining forces as you're rushing down, and I purposely gave you that picture of rushing down, okay? And the reason being is because I want them to feel the force. Because force with knowledge is like a multiplier of like 10. You get a brand new person who has no knowledge but has force, it's 10 times 1. If that person has a little bit of knowledge, it's 10 times 2. So now it's an effect of 20. You get 4 or 5 people who are doing that all at the same time, then that line's going to blow up fast, okay? So I want you guys to look. So those are not balanced, right? I'm going to be paid on this one, not on this one. And so what I'm going to do is that here's what I did. I sponsored somebody, okay? Training interest was evidently low. I keep sponsoring. You sponsor one, and then I just keep on going, right? Keep on going. Did nothing, did nothing, did one. Did nothing, did nothing, did nothing. And then he did something. Okay? See how that works? Let me back up, because I don't want you to miss my real point. I just keep doing the pipeline. I keep 2 out of 14 or 2 out of 15. Okay, so 1 out of every 7. He signs up. I try to go through the training. He doesn't want to engage. I try to get him to engage. I say, let's make some phone calls together. I don't feel comfortable with that. I'm not going to say anything. I just want to listen to you. I don't feel comfortable with that. In other words, at what point would the bomb squad have kicked me out? It would have been the point where I would have said, no, I don't want to wrap my hands around that bomb. And so if somebody's willing to train me to wrap my hands around that bomb, I was all right with it. But if in network marketing, if you say you got to make a phone call now, let's do it together. No, I don't want to do that. In other words, they're running and they're ducking and they're dodging. I can't go beyond that one. And that's how they end up vacant. I move under them. Move under them, move under, move under, move under. And then I sponsor somebody who does want to get trained, who does have a training interest, who does have a life force, who doesn't have excuses. Good. My peeps, right? I was in the airport and I was rushing through and I see somebody sitting on the escalator that's flat. He's on the escalator like this. And I'm like, bye, right? And I'm like, not my peeps, not my peeps, not my peeps, right? I don't stand around. I don't, like I'm always on the move. And so when somebody is not wanting to move, then I've got to pass, I got to walk, I got to drive around them, So, and now I'm getting paid on this one. Okay, and I think it's about $150 a month. Not going to cut it, mama. So I just keep on doing the same thing, right? And then it finishes the line. So that's all that this is, guys. Anybody want to call it hard? I'm going to show you burpees if you do. Joking. All right. So I always run 2 different campaigns at the same time. I will do a campaign that is all about customer acquisition. I'll do another campaign that is about business. Why? Because there are about 90% of the people who cannot carry the conversation in network marketing. They can't talk about network marketing. They get mowed down. So everything that I taught you, that armor stuff, that's the stuff. Okay? If the whole reason I decided to get out here and train everybody in the whole cockeyed industry about it, instead of keeping it to myself, is because I can't have the conversation enough times. I have to get it out there so that you guys can use it. Okay? Most people can't have the conversation about network marketing because their friends, their families, or whatever knock them down or say something. So that's the network marketing conversation. Pyramid scheme, Ponzi, blah, 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 all that stuff. Over here is a customer acquisition program because some people didn't come from business. And so they don't understand business. And so what I want from them is I want them to get a result. What is a result versus a product? Tell me. Weight loss story, good. Skin story, deodorant story, whatever the story is. And I was sitting with somebody who did nails the other day. Nail story, whatever it is. Where are you? Where's the lady I sat with who does the nails? There you are. There you are. Like whatever the story is, I want a result story. Because once I get a result for somebody, and by the way, I do not ever assume just because I sell a product that, like, I make sure they get the result that they want. That's what I'm after. That's a very different mindset. And you will completely blow all retail stores out the door if you just think this one thought. What's the journey I want that person to get to? Where do I want to take them? On New Year's, I remember doing this thing, and it was like, okay, who's my tribe? Who do I want? I want older men, defined it, right? I defined it. I want older men who want to be in the most shredded, fit body they've had in their whole life, and who want to make 13% increases every quarter in income. That's the person I'm going to grab a hold of, and I'm going to take them with me. And they're going with me on a journey. I know I can do that. I want them to know they can do that. And when they get there, I'm going to say, hey man, do you like the way you look? Yeah. Do you know anybody who would want to get the gains that you got? Yeah. Who? Well, Bob, John, Robert. Good. Would you like to make the commission on that, or do you want me to make the commission on that? What? You may repeat it, right? That's all there is. You want to give me referrals, or do you want to make a commission? If they want to make a commission, see, they had to get the result first to believe it's real and that they can do it. Now they need to get a money result so that they believe now they can do it. Get the idea? So that's what a customer acquisition program is, and a business program was the one that I showed you about wanting to build a line into China. Okay, so me and a good friend, I called him like the week of Christmas. His wife will never forgive me. Because I said, I have an idea. It was like a couple of weeks or something like that. And needless to say, neither one of us did anything at Christmas other than this. So basically ran an ad because I'd gotten a result. And then we had 356 people fill out this form agreeing that they were going to spend like $400, $300-something. And this was our offer. No, this was what our headlines were. And then they filled out this form, and then we had 126 people agree to purchase the pack, and that was 44%, and then 24 24 already had that week, and we decided to just run with it because we were doing webinars 2 nights a week, and so we converted 7%. And then those were the results that I showed you, that the 24 lost 26.7 pounds. So this was that campaign, okay? And so the math worked, meaning that we would spend 16 and make 37. Normally, you don't get that. And on customer acquisition programs, I am less quick to do one that doesn't make money, okay? I'm not trying to make money necessarily. I'm really just trying to break even on the ad cost. Okay. All right, so now you know, this next one's fast. Now you know that you can do network marketing. All it is the pipeline. How many of you feel like that you could walk out of here and you now know what to do? Good. All right, leaders. This one's for you. Okay. Reps, leaders, secretly believe they can't train a team because they're either not doing the pipeline or not training the pipeline. Because they're creating, or, this is another one, because they're creating culture, which is great, but not including the pipeline into it. You can create a really cool man cave and chick club, all of that. You can do incredible stuff with them. But if you're not including the pipeline, then you're not going to get anybody making money, okay? Because they're not setting standards, these are leaders, not setting standards in the pipeline and ensuring they are done, okay? So I went through this with you already, all this stuff here, but this is different, okay? After the logistics of signing somebody up, now what do? You set standards. What is a standard? I want to make sure you guys understand it because it's kind of a military term. What's a standard? If I gave you a standard of lead generation, what would you think that would mean? A base level? Good. So like a base level, like a quantity? So if I said to you, generate 5 leads in the next 48 hours. That makes sense, right? Okay? So let me give you guys a concept so I can see some blankness going on here. Okay. So you guys ever heard of the U.S. Navy SEAL team? All right. There's probably some things you don't know. Like, there were a couple of guys in World War II who said, we need a force that can move very rapidly, can outmaneuver the enemy. Because the days of the old warfare where people lined up with muskets pointed at each other and everybody goes, fire! Fire! Right? That's called attrition warfare. That's just everybody shoots. Whoever's got the most number of guns wins. That's the way it works. So Then we got into a different military force that would outmaneuver. And so it was like, who is the most elite military force that we know of? And so they then go and do intel on those elite forces. And then those guys who wanted to create the SEAL team came back, and he said, this is how many push-ups they can do. This is how long they can swim for. This is how long they can run for. This is how long they can fight to exhaustion. This is what their standards are with shooting a rifle. This is what their standards are at shooting whatever. You get the idea? So they measured and got who's number one and said, we've got to be better. But first, we've got to get to that standard. Then we will raise the standard. And after we get everybody to that standard, we will raise the standard again. What standard? The standard of push-ups, the standard of burpees, the standards of shooting, the standards of everything. So the standards would be generate leads, contacts, appointments, presentations, follow up. Push 5 people through there. That's your job. Okay? That's the first standard. Just generate 5 leads. Then contact them. Then set an appointment. Then with me, with a video, with whatever. Then this. Okay? You got to see if the person's going to engage. Get a standard. All right, he gets to 5. Praise like that was the first poopy on the big boy toilet. Okay? You got to praise them, man. Little babies love it. Grown men will die for it. You know those 2-cent pins that guys will die for? To put on your chest, right? Okay, so when a wife says, well done, babe, it means more than you'll ever know in your life. It works the other way too. And so praise them. And then increase the standard. Go to 7. Go to 10. Go to 20. Go to 40. Go to 60. Go to 100. Okay? This is what James was talking about. In other words, when you put that strain on just a little bit, each day, he takes cold showers. Okay, he also translates it over here, I bet, and that is how you raise a standard. And you get people up. And this is the only way any elite team, any sports team, any college team, anything goes elite is to set a standard, raise the standard, repeat. And we can, in network marketing, create a crusade like nobody has ever seen in the history of the world. Okay? I mean it. Okay, so this is the kind of my scorecard. This is something that I did kind of for tricks. And it was, I just saw some people talking about, you know, those are people in network marketing. You're not welcome on my Facebook. You spam people, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, we're getting criticized for our F students. Because I already knew the people who damaged relationships. Okay, so this is their ability. Okay, so everybody's got an ability, right? Some level. And then over here is a grade if you were in school. And then over here is what do they do to relationships? What do they do? What's their activity level? What's their knowledge level? What's their income? What's their training interest? So I plotted all this out. It was really kind of fun. So if your ability is bad, that would be your F student if you were in school. And what do they do to relationships? They damage them. Okay? So they lie. They spam. So when you hear that network marketing people spam, we're getting, it's kind of like speeding zones, speed limits. You know, like there were some people who sped, had wrecks, and now we all have to slow down, right? And I really hate it because I got 13 speeding tickets for over 100 miles an hour on my motorcycle, but I've never had a wreck in my life. Okay, and it really bugs me to go slow. Okay. Now you know I'm kind of a junkie that way. All right, relationships on the D students going to, let me go this way. Their activity level over here, they lose money, they don't make money. Those are the people that the media interviews. Their training interest is none, and they don't train. They always have an excuse for not training. The D student, mostly unprofessional, they harm relationships, they cause an awkward strain at the dinner table, at the Thanksgiving, at the girl party, at everything. They just create, they're the ones who say, oh, you're in a J-O-B, journey of the broke, ha ha ha. Oh my gosh, right? Their life is to try to antagonize people, you know? You know that kind of attitude people get? So that's your D student, and they always complain. Their activity level is low. They provoke trouble. Low and lack of certainty. Up to $10,000 a year. I was generous. Activity training interest is low. They complain about training. Occasionally attends training. Watched some of it. Won't train the downline. Okay? So they might come to an event, but they would never share it with their downline to come to an event. Okay, your C student, frequently professional. They're good at it. Good activity level, good knowledge level, income about $75 a year. Good at the training. Will receive training, but they will not rehearse it. You won't find them plopping up, watching a training, setting up a camera, and then them sitting on a whiteboard and then doing it and doing it and doing it until they get it right. Okay, so that's what the person's going to do if they're at that next level. But they're at that level, they'll watch it and they go, it's pretty good. That's all. That's what you got. They're not going to share it with the downline. B, these people are going to make up to $250,000 a year. Their training level is high. They'll rehearse until they get it right. The elite person's going to rehearse until we can't do it wrong. Because what the military taught me about training is that we would mock up. If we knew the grounds that we were going to go in, we would have the construction crew come in and build a building just like it. And then we would kick the door down. We would have ballistic walls, like metal in the walls. And then we call them kill houses, and we would rehearse. And it was like we were a dance group, okay? We would move in like this, and we would slide, and we would, each person has their responsibilities in each corner of the room, and we would do this. And then, and with no guns. And then we would do it with guns, but blanks in it. And then we would do it real fire with ballistic walls. In other words, it won't penetrate the walls. And so we would do that. And we did it, and we did it, and we did it. And we had cameras. We would look at the cameras. We'd watch what each person did. We would adjust. These are after-action drills is what we called them. And we would just keep on rehearsing it, rehearsing it, rehearsing it. And so by the time we kicked down the door in the bad guy's house, we bet big that he hadn't rehearsed for us coming. And that's why we win. It's not because we have a logo or an emblem on our chest. It's because we rehearse until we couldn't do it wrong in training. We keep doing it, we keep doing it, we keep doing it. And then the commander would keep on saying, are you guys ready? Are your men ready? Are your men ready? And our commander would say, not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet. We'd have to go through it 10 times without making any mistakes. Once we did that, then he would say, we're ready, sir. And we were ready. Okay, do you get the idea now of the idea of training? Okay, so the people who make millions in this industry, it's not a confusion. You think I've drilled it until I can't do it wrong? Very much. Okay, why do the 9 actions? Number one is you're doing the 9 actions cause you will, no, I'm sorry. You doing the 9 actions cause you to get a team. You can't get a team unless you do. You doing 9 actions cause you to know how to train your team because you can't train what you don't know how to do. And then people who can't do the 9 actions won't recruit because they're afraid someone will join. Doing the 9 actions may bow your back at first, especially if you're already a leader. People expect things from you. Okay? Now I'm talking like this thing. I know you don't want to be embarrassed. And you want to keep on with this, I'll pretend to train you, you pretend to work. We'll blame the company. But I'm telling you, if you'll just do it, bow your back, go into hiding if you have to, start making phone calls. You're going to come out of there with hawk eyes instead of like mouse eyes, right? So it's worth it. So it's a must. Doing so will make you effective and valuable to your team, and nothing else does. Your insistence that each of your team members do the 9 actions is what will get them to full-time income. Leaders get their reps earning money. Yes, build a relationship. Yes, build a culture. But man, they're trusting you to get them money. All right? Know why they're there. Okay? Don't invite somebody to a social or to a money club to be social. Okay? Hard training is the solemn duty of a leader. It is how leaders take care of their people. Yes, stand up for them, but get them money. All right? And you got to do hard training with some people. Now you know you can train your team because you know exactly the steps. Do the pipeline, and then you can train it. All right? Okay. Summary, I do the 9 actions every day to keep my pipeline full and me sharp at my craft. I stack lines until someone finishes it for me, and that's how I find my leaders. I train my leaders the 9 actions until they can't do them wrong. I'll learn on them for life. Why not? Why wouldn't I do that? Okay? And so now I want to tell you the most awkward thing I ever did in my life. So I was retired. I was cool. Living on the beaches of the world, and somebody wanted to do a video, and so I was going to do this training on how to do a presentation, how to do a training, and things like that. And so this is me, and this is a lady who was in a chocolate company or something like that, and so she had sponsored him, and so I was pretending as though I sponsored her just for the video, and I told everybody that's what it was. And so I was watching her train him. And then he was going to train her. And so she was a friend of this person. Okay? And so I was at the time, I had a relationship with a girl, but I had already kind of like said this isn't going to work out. But it was just comfortable to stay in that situation, you know. And wasn't enough, you know. It was just kind of like, yeah, I'll get around to. It's kind of awkward to say, you need to move your stuff out. And so that was the situation that we were in. And so this guy, I had bought leads for each one of these people. And so this person was calling leads, this person was calling leads, and this person that I didn't know was calling leads. And I watched this girl making phone calls. And her hand was trembling, but she was just banging out phone calls, one right after another. And I was like, man, this girl is tough. Like, who does that? She's never called a prospect in her life, and she's just sitting here banging one out because she kept saying, I'm going to get one to say yes. And she'd call in again, call in other words, and I was just like, and I found myself at that moment being very impressed. The next day we shot more. The next day we shot more. And then she, and we spent a lot of time because we were basically, they'd bring in lunch and we'd sit outside. There's a like pool and stuff out there, out back. And so we'd talk a lot. And then while the videos were being uploaded and all that, we'd talk. And I remember this point where I was like, because you see, my whole life, I had this picture of the girl for me. And each time I would be looking and I would know that it wasn't it in the beginning, but I would somehow end up with that person anyway, to learn whatever lessons I was supposed to learn. And then there was a breakup, there was an upset, everybody cries, and then I had to do it again. And over and over and over and over and over. And I was like, where is this girl? And it was the only thing in my life that I had ever felt as though that I hadn't achieved. Of all the goals, of everything, I felt as though that was the only thing that I did not have my love. And so she was leaving. And I felt like a dog knowing that the family's going on vacation and I'm not. You know, like, I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to go back to Arizona. I'm in Florida here. she's going to go back to Arizona, and I will never see her again. And so I was just kind of being polite and walking out the door. And the girlfriend that I had kind of walked out with us. Can you see now why I named this awkward? And so I turned to the girlfriend that I had. I said, "Can you go back inside?" And so she goes, "All right." And so she walks inside. And I turn to that girl and I go, "If I wasn't with her and you weren't with John, would you have an interest in having a relationship?" I don't know who said that. That was the most awkward, stupid line you could ever come up with in a million years. It didn't matter how many years I had done training on greet, qualify, invite. Everything went out the door right then and there because I did not want to lose the opportunity, because I didn't know if it would ever happen again, and I had a hunch. So what do? You don't wait until you're perfect, because I'm telling you, even when you're perfect, you'll still mess it up. All right, so even though I talked about training until you can't do it wrong, I said the stupidest thing in the whole world that day. And she, like, I'd love to tell you, she goes, "Yeah." She didn't. She said, what? And I'm like, "I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Okay, just forget that I had this conversation. Please forget I had this conversation." And I turned around and walked back in the house. 2 days later, I had asked her for her email through text message, because I said, "Because you still got a load of leads here, and I don't want them to age, you might as well go ahead and call them back." And so she sent her email address, and I sent her the leads. And then she text messaged me, and she said, "Thank you, I got the leads." And I said, "I'm sorry," and I replied back, and I said, "I'm sorry I went out on a limb all by myself the other night. I really apologize." And she replied back, "You weren't alone." What? What does that mean? Why can't you just be like military and say exactly what it is? I sit there and I stare at it. I can't reply, and I'm like, and so I finally, after about 8 minutes, that's a forever in text world, right? And I wrote back and I said, "What does that mean?" And then immediately, an answer back, "You know what it means." What if I didn't go awkward? What if I just said, "Well, I'll wait until I'm better trained. I'll wait until this. I'll wait until that." Okay? We wouldn't have Braxton. We wouldn't have Tristan. We wouldn't have, in my opinion, the greatest relationship in the world. Every single day I go to her and I say, "You know what? I just figured something out." And she'll go, "What?" And I go, "I'm going to love you all day today." And she'll go, "Just today?" I go, "Yeah." And she goes, "What about tomorrow?" "I'll let you know tomorrow." Because that's the way relationships are, right? You got to recreate the relationship every single day. That's the only way they stay together, because with a single thought, somebody can undo the relationship just like that, right? And so that's the way that I ask you to look at your business. In other words, try to do your very best, to rehearse your very best. But there's going to be a moment where you're going to be really awkward, and it's all right. All right? Just go for it, because you've got dreams, and the only way you get them is to go out bold. All right? And so even if you get killed, at least you went out going bold, right? Okay, Adriana, I'm done. I appreciate you guys so much.